This just in, Houston, we have a Big 12 champion for the first time in school history. Second year in the conference. They made the Big 12 tournament title game last year, lost to Iowa State. They beat Arizona. And how'd they beat Arizona? Well, Houston finished the game on an 11-2 run after trailing by 1 with 5:30 to play. Thanks in part, Matt, to Milos Uzan, career high, 25 points, no turnovers, and you consider they're playing this game without one of their best players in Juwan Roberts.
Yeah, no Roberts here, and when we talk about Uzan, I go back. So in the here and the now, we've got a double champ in the Big 12. Houston's going to be a 1 seed. They've been tremendous. I go back to a conversation I had in the preseason with Kelvin Sampson, because Uzan was at Oklahoma. He was a good player, but he didn't have a season a year ago that they were expecting. He goes into the portal, and he comes to this Houston program, and it's really not known if he's going to wind up being the 3rd most important player on this roster or the 9th most important player. And I remember hearing from that staff and them saying, it's going to take a little time. He's got to get used to what the expectation here is. But we firmly believe that we've watched him, we've scouted him, we've seen what he's capable of. And when we get to March, Milos Uzan is going to be a guy that we can depend upon and will be a star for us when it matters. Kelvin Sampson is an incredible coach. I mean, the prophecy was fulfilled within the Houston program on Saturday night. This was his best game by far, not in a Houston uniform, in college basketball, in his career. He stepped up in a major way. Arizona gave good resistance. It gave a good fight. Houston is incredible, and what Uzan did was amazing. And as we're, rolling towards Selection Sunday, we can't wait to see that bracket. We see how Duke has been looking. We see what Florida is doing. We see what Tennessee's doing. We see what St. John's is doing. I still can't help but think that Houston, on some level, is still a tad underappreciated and underrated for how good it is. This team can win the national title. This team is playing at an elite level and has been doing so continuously. It's incredible. And they weren't even at full strength in beating Arizona. Do not underestimate the Houston Cougars. They probably would have made the Final Four last season.
Injuries.
If not for injury in the tournament.
Yep.
We know what went on there. But yeah, that was mighty impressive. And yeah, at the same time, no surprise whatsoever to see them do it how they did it.
Yeah, if you want to hear more and read more about the Houston team this season and their run to this point, check out CBSSports.com. The Dodd father, or as I would call him, Big Game Dennis Dodd, who's retiring soon here in April, wrote a great article about Houston as it goes into the NCAA tournament as a 1 seed, so check that out. Also, Tim, check this out here. You can't win a basketball game, as you would know, with no field goals over the final 5.5. That's what Arizona did.
Arizona's a hard handicap, and no Matt has watched them all season, and we've seen the good, we've seen the bad, we've seen the ugly at times for them, and it was kind of all in this one game, in an ensemble. Houston, they broke the 70 mark. If the Houston Cougars can consistently score 74 yesterday against BYU, 72 today, that's always been their question. Can they score enough points? Because you know what they're going to give you rebounding. You know what they're going to give you defensively. They shut down Arizona, down the stretch. But I love that they made 9 of 23 from deep. Balanced. It wasn't like Cryer went off. There was other guys helping. Kelvin Sampson ended my college career senior night at Northwestern, and he went through a lot at Indiana and really bounced back, and he has developed a culture in college basketball. It's hard to find a program that has a better culture. When you think Houston Cougars, you're like, oh, defense and rebounding. But now when they're giving you 70-plus points, and I think that's what a guy like Uzan adds, is like, no matter how good your defense is, Iowa State, you got to put the ball in the basket. You still got to be able to stretch the floor. You still got to make shots. It hasn't always been the case with this Houston squad. The Big 12, Matt Norlander, I think is a difficult handicap. I know that Houston won 30 games for four straight years. It's an amazing. But I want to see what they can do in the tournament. I'm just going to leak this out here. I have my doubts about the Big 12.
Oh, I mean, okay, that's fine. I mean, let me send it right back to you. Do you have your doubts about Houston?
I don't. They're the only team when I look up and down. Texas Tech, I'm excited about their coach. JT Toppin's an amazing talent. Kansas, I don't know what I'm going to get from them. Arizona, up and down. Iowa State, up and down. BYU's been up as of late, but they put it this way: there's a lot of roller coaster rides in the Big 12. Not with Houston, but can I see them win a national championship? Ooh, I don't know. I see them in a Final Four, but picking them to cut down the nets Matt, if you do that, you'll be one of the few people that do it.
I may well do it, and I think the guy sitting on the desk next to me is also going to seriously, potentially consider it as well. In the framing of a national championship contenders, I think you're on the right scent here. I think Houston's the only one. I think Texas Tech can make a Final Four. I wouldn't say Texas Tech is a national title contender on the level of Houston, but a really, really good team, and JT Toppin has also been an All-American this season. And then all the teams after that, Iowa State, we'll see. You got to have Keyshawn Gilbert healthy as well. Arizona, there are, I have what I call choose your own adventure teams, and I think Arizona is similar to Illinois, is similar to Kentucky. These are teams where I could see them really having an issue immediately in the first game of the tournament they play, but if you told me they actually found a way to make the Final Four, I would believe you. So Arizona fits that description overall, and I know Tommy Lloyd wanted to see some real increased toughness and, from his team, and they gave him that for a decent portion of this game overall. Credit to Arizona for at least putting up a good fight. They've got a good team, and they've had some good runs. But it's been a season like this, Hakeem. They were down, then they were really up, Arizona, and then they were down again. They're in a little bit of a lull. Almost any coach will tell you, when you get to the bracket reveal and everything that Selection Sunday provides something to college basketball that no other sport gets, not even college football with the 12-team playoff, because you have 68 teams, the perfect number, oh, by the way. And when you see your name flash on CBS and you see it come across the screen, where you're going to travel, who you're going to play, it is a new wave of momentum and positivity. And sometimes coaches need that. The players, they don't even know they need it, and they need it. And then suddenly you go into this whole new world, this whole new stage. It's different from everything else that's been leading up to this, including the conference tournaments. And I wonder if Arizona might benefit from getting out of the Big 12 and seeing some fresh meat, so to speak, with whichever team it's going to wind up playing when we get that bracket reveal on Sunday.
I believe we can all agree that this has been a season filled with the most parity in college basketball in recent memory. When you look, let's say, for the conversation, Tim, Auburn and Houston, how do those teams stack up in terms of the talent disparity? Because you could say that both are defensively excellent and excellent sound offensively as well, even though Auburn has lost 3 of its last 4.
Yeah, Auburn's starting lineup. Did you guys see that stat? They're just as old as almost the Oklahoma City Thunder starting lineup, which is crazy when you actually think about that. I think Auburn has more offensive firepower. I trust Houston more as far as a culture standpoint. I think Auburn, the question about them when I talk to SEC folks is, yeah, when Auburn's really good, they're the best team in college basketball. But, we saw them last year in the tournament lose early to Yale, and you wonder if they have that in the back of their mind. Obviously, conference tournaments like this are hard to handicap because what does it really mean? Like, you win the conference tournament, it doesn't mean anything. Like, it's more about going to the Final Four and winning a national championship. I just like the fact that this Houston team got 70 points. There are so many Houston, even when they beat Arizona earlier this year, it was like 62-58. Like, you need to score. Like, at the end of the day, you got to be able to make shots. You got to be able to spread the floor. And this team, I know they had Quentin Grimes. I know they had Shed. But this team has a little bit more scoring dynamics. You got to be able to make shots. Like, you can't grind out a national championship holding teams in the 50s. I just can't. It's too hard to do too many consecutive games.
Houston, again, a projected 1 seed. Not sure if they're going to overtake Auburn for the #1 overall seed. Probably not. So I'm sure there's not going to be much drama come Sunday about the 1 seeds. It's Auburn, it's Duke, it's Houston, and it's Florida, if they can end up winning the SEC title game. Much more ahead here with Tim Doyle and Matt Norlander. Another 30-win season for Houston. That makes 4 straight 30-win seasons, tied for the second most in D1 history, behind only Gonzaga, who had 5 in a row of those such seasons. Houston locking up the auto bid from the Big 12, 30 wins.